Hi, good morning, everybody. Thanks for tuning in this morning. It's a beautiful Sunday. It's a glowing Sunday. And we welcome you to the 41st episode of the CaughtAtPoint podcast, where I, Dev Tyagi, sports journalist and podcaster, and not such a good one after all, takes immense pleasure in having my co-host Pranay Rangra discussing with you today the forthcoming T20 World Cup, Women's World Cup. Remember, it's not always about the men's game. Pranay, I want to immediately dive you in. It's going to be a fantastic time in the next few days from now. 3rd October is the big day. And South Africa are, of course, in a very, very exciting group. What are your impressions?
Yeah, Dave, it's going to be something to look forward to. So, South Africa recently played against Pakistan and they beat Pakistan in Multan 2-1. They got a hang of the conditions, the subcontinental conditions, and thankfully, the World Cup is also happening in the UAE. So, they have a sort of an understanding about the conditions, so that might hold them in good stead. Plus, there's a lot to look forward to, not only from a South African perspective. India is there, Australia is there, England's there, the White Ferns are there, your favorite West Indies is there. So there are a lot of teams eyeing the trophy, and it's going to be one to look forward to.
Absolutely. So I want to bring to our viewers' attention that so far 8 editions of the T20 Women's World Cup have happened, out of which the Australians have clinched 6 World Cup titles. Not at all a bad number, Pranay, considering the fact that England and West Indies women's teams have been the only two other winners.
Yeah, Dave, that's almost more than 80% of win ratio for Australia, and they are the team to beat. They are the Ricky Ponting team of the 2000s or the Steve Waugh team of the late 90s. And under Meg Lanning, I'm sure they're going to do wonders. So hopefully, a team to beat.
One of the strongest and one of the greatest cricket teams in the history of the sport ever. Which also brings me to just share a random cricketing fact with those viewers who perhaps might not be aware. The first time that a women's World Cup happened, I'm not talking about T20, but a women's World Cup happened. So the women folk had dived into the sport 2 years earlier than the men's World Cup happened. So the men's World Cup happened, of course, Pranay, in 1975. But पहला edition जो था World Cup का for the in the women's game happened in 1973. Also the year of the birth of Rahul Dravid. But again, let's come back to the point. So I'm just mean to say that so much has happened in the women's game over the years, and so much is going to happen for South Africa this time around. So let us dive into the next section of this hopefully engaging podcast. What are your feelings, impressions about the way the South African squad looks up, and how do you think they can perform?
Actually, Dave, thanks for the enlightening fact. I didn't know that the first Women's World Cup happened in 1973, 2 years before the Men's World Cup. Speaking about South Africa, Dave, so as you know, recently they beat Pakistan 2-1, and that was thanks to some young talent rather than the seasoned likes of Cap and Khaka and the likes. So this was all down to there's a new all-rounder in South African cricket called as Annery Dirksen, and she's a hard-hitting batter and a pace bowler with late swing. So she was pivotal in making South Africa win the third T20 World Cup. I mean, the third T20 match. And also, Sunil Luz was adjudged the player of the series, 90 plus runs, more than 2 wickets, 3 wickets or so. So there's something to look forward to there. And obviously, Tasman Brits has a lot to prove. Unfortunately, her mother was diagnosed with cancer about 2 weeks back, breast cancer. So that's a sad thing. But still, she's decided to play the World Cup. That shows the commitment towards the game, and it's in a way to honor her mother to bring the trophy home. So her mother was supposed to travel to the UAE, but unfortunately she couldn't. So now there's a lot to play for. Plus, her father died during COVID, so she wants to honor him also by getting the trophy home. And who knows, maybe one South African team can finally win a trophy this year. The men were close, albeit a bit too far. What are
Yes,
your opinions on South Africa, so to speak?
South Africa, purely passionate, always enthusiastic, always exciting, and sometimes always the classic case of being yet so close and yet so far. I don't know if that makes any sense, Pranay. But to answer your question, one of the most emphatic cricketing units ever to have taken to the sport. They bring so much of excitement and wonder to this great game of cricket, which is rightly being said, everyone's game, not just the gentleman's game. And I just want to bring some insights that I think I'm very happy to share about Tasman Ritz. So, for those of us in this part of the world where if you don't know the names of anyone besides Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma, you can actually have your Aadhaar card cancelled. Tasman Ritz is one of the most exciting, one of the most competitive, hard hitting, top order batters. And Pranay also brought it to my knowledge a few days back that she used to be an excellent javelin thrower
Yeah.
and just the kind of talent who, with her exciting fielding and agile tactics on the field, can take the batters by a storm. I'm personally counting a lot on her. I'm also counting a lot on Anike Bosch to come to the party. And I think it would be fantastic if the majestic Sunilus, one of the most amazing all round names in the game, can perhaps just up the ante of hitting because it's not always possible for somebody to be as good as Sunilus. That you take the wickets and you produce the runs, but just that strike rate that would help South Africa's cause enormously. And as a fan, as somebody who's a fan of the purest cricketers, for the lack of better words, I couldn't be more happy to see Madison Cap still being here and still going strong. But I think this could actually be her last T20 World Cup, unless I'm very much mistaken.
No, could be Dave. She's in her mid 30s and she had debuted way back in 2009. So almost 15 years of playing. Could be, but that's all the more reason that she would want to get it home. And speaking about Sunil Lewis, there's a very interesting thing that Laura Woodward has started getting her to bowl again. In between, she had stopped bowling altogether. Yeah, sure.
Laura Woolward is the captain of the squad this time around. It's not Sunili's. Do you want to quickly, before you elaborate on this point, आप बता सकते हो कि why is she the captain to our viewers and why not Sunili's? क्या change हुआ है ऐसा?
So I think Sunil Lewis voluntarily gave up captaincy because she wanted to focus on her game, and Laura Woolward was brought in an interim capacity. So there's a lot of interim that happens in South African cricket, which you would know. So then the coach, Hilton Moring, decided to part ways with South African cricket, and Dylan Dupree became the coach. And Laura Woolward was given permanent captaincy. So she'll be heading into her first major ICC tournament this year. And let's see how she performs. So the point I was making was that she got Sunil Lewis to start bowling again because Pakistan obviously merited a lot of spin bowling. So apart from Malaba and Tryon and the likes, Sunil Lewis took the ball and she was pretty good with the leg spin. So you can look at Sunil Lewis from an all-rounder capacity this time, which makes me even more excited.
So just some amazing numbers of the great Laura Woolward, the Leonardo DiCaprio of the cover drive. I don't know. One of the finest batters in the game. And please do not at all think that I am trying to bash men's folk here. But मुझे एक चीज कभी भी समझ में नहीं आई कि when it comes to playing the cover drive, Pranay, you might agree with this one. Why is the first polling question who plays the better cover drive? बाबर और विराट. समटाइम्स जब लोगों को थोड़ा सा 90s 2000s का नॉस्टैल्जिया याद आता है तो फिर उसमें इन बेल कम्स इनटू द पिक्चर. But please, if you still haven't woken up, wake up, have a cup of coffee, wear the green t-shirt, and just see some of the most breathtaking, glowing, beautiful cover drives executed to pitch perfection by none other than Laura Woolward, who, by the way, has against her name 1765 T20 international runs. That's no jokes. I mean, the strike rate is north of 115, which is not bad at all. She's already hit 100 in T20 national cricket wearing a South African jersey. Her high score is 102. She'd want to hit one or maybe two here. And if she can actually hit more, Pranay would completely immerse himself in green paint.
Definitely, Dave, because I hope a South African team finally lifts the cup.
Right.
Speaking about South Africa, so they have the likes of England and West Indies in their group. So what do you think? Where are England and West Indies with their game right now? West Indies being led by Haley Matthews and England by Heather Knight.
So I want to tell our viewers that today's podcast had a friendship on the line. If I would not have said that I'm supporting South Africa, but guess what? Do you recognize this color? It has Shea Hope written on it. I have another one in the mix. It's actually going to have the name of Deandra Doughton. But thank you for asking that question, Pranay. Always exciting to have West Indies and South Africa in the same group. England being there is just going to widen the scope of excitement in that group. I don't believe in using the expression that it's a group of death or something, but definitely it's a crazy group. The fun is going to be amazing. I know for sure that somewhere a certain Mignon Dupree would be watching this group very closely. She's about to be a mother. She's embraced motherhood, and I'm very happy for her. She's somebody who I always miss on the cricket field because she's my favorite cricketer after Mithali Raj. And West Indies are going to be, I think, West Indies as always. You just don't know what kind of West Indies turns up on the cricket field that day. Is it going to be a one-man show which can completely hammer the opponents, or is it going to be a collective effort which perhaps does not really come to the party? But I can tell you something that with the return of Deandra Doughton, who has against a name two T20 international centuries, one against South Africa in the briefest format of the game. West Indies should not be taken lightly, especially given the fact that on the second hand, I mean to say on the other end, the form of Haley Matthews has been rather dismissive. She was the player of the series when they recently went to Sri Lanka, and she scored over 100 runs. She also picked up a wicket. She looked in good touch. Runs were coming from a bat previously against Pakistan as well. So these are subcontinental conditions where it's never easy, Pranay, to make runs. But this is Dubai, this is UAE. I don't know the kind of surface we'll get. Probably it won't turn as much. It could be a touch slower. And the West Indies, they're the kind of team which, correct me if I'm wrong, like the ball coming onto the bat very well. Is that going to happen? I don't know. I do know definitely that it can't be that Haley Matthews and Deandra Doughton will alone, um, take the team over the ropes. Of course, there's Stephanie Taylor. I think the likes of the youngsters, in the team, they have to come to the party. Um, I'm not sure if Afi Fletcher, the leg spinner, is there. I hope she is. If she's not, West Indies would be missing out on a very capable leg spinner. I think she's there in the squad. Um, but I think it is time for the youngsters to come to the party. In the past half a decade, we've seen the likes of Zelda James and uh, Rashada Williams being there, but their best days lie hopefully ahead in the future. And as for England, England are always mighty. They are already T20 World Cup winners, but they would want to take this tournament as one where, if it's not about settling a score with their mighty opponents like Australia, it is about hammering the opponents, and they should, I think like a tank, the likes of which we found in the somber wars of the Second World War, the rampaging tanks, English tanks, which, well, withstood immense pressure and then ultimately made their way as the victors.
But Dave, speaking about the surfaces, so the South African men's team was recently playing Afghanistan in Sharjah. So the pitch there was very low and slow. And as you know that South Africa lost 2-1 and they were comprehensively beaten by Afghanistan in the first two one-day internationals, couldn't surmount more than 150. That was how bad the batting was. So I think Sharjah is going to spin. And speaking of Dubai, usually has a bit of grass. It's much like the Abu Dhabi pitch, and that'll be better for stroke making. So Sharjah one has to be very cognizant about putting in more spinners and playing spin more effectively. So that's
Right,
going to be a challenge. And I think
right.
India, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka can capitalize much better in Sharjah versus Dubai. Speaking about India, Dave, I think India also has a fairly good chance with Harmanpreet Kaur, with Smriti Mandana, with Renuka Thakur, Ja- Jameem Rodriguez, and the likes. What are your 2 cents about how well can India do and where can they go in the tournament? How far?
India always competitive. Our girls always competitive, always mighty. And just in the last few editions, they've just not been able to take that final big leap. As far as talent is concerned, the kind of class that exists in Jemima Rodriguez is amazing. Somebody like Richa Ghosh from West Bengal, one of the finest things from West Bengal in a long, long time, brings a lot of excitement to the game. She's hard hitting. Her wicket keeping abilities are very nice. She has age, talent on her side, if not necessarily experience, but she seems to be a tough cookie who does not crumble under pressure. And as you rightly said, Renuka Thakur is clearly our best bet alongside of Pooja Vastrakar, for instance. But of course, much of the spotlight will rest, and rightly so, on Smriti Mandhana and Harmanpreet Kaur, the dazzling duo up the order. And a mega, mega tournament for Captain Harmanpreet Kaur, who sort of revolutionized the game back in 2017, albeit in the ODI format, when in England she hammered the Aussies by scoring 171 runs. A Herculean effort, a brilliant and timely effort, which actually catapulted cricket rather to the attention of so many ignorant fans who just thought that it was a game where the ladies weren't even doing all that much. And of course, the common narrative ensues दैट क्या हो रहा है इस गेम में, उतना अच्छा है भी क्या, क्या हमारी लड़कियां उतना अच्छा खेलती हैं? तो मैं आप सबकी जानकारी के लिए बता दूं, हमारी बहुत ही दमदार टीम है। एंड वो काफ़ी एकाग्रता और काफ़ी मेहनत के साथ खेलते हैं और बहुत अच्छा खेलते हैं। And I really hope that we can clinch the trophy this time around. But what would make it super exciting would be if that somehow Australia, England, South Africa, and West Indies can be the final four. And no love lost for Pakistan, by the way, who are an amazing team as well.
And what about Sri Lanka? They under Atapattu, they recently beat South Africa in South Africa, if I might add. So they also sort of are the dark horses, if I may. They recently beat Bangladesh in a warm up yesterday. So one can't count them also out.
Chamari Athapattu is the greatest living Sri Lankan cricketer who has come from the beautiful island country. There will never be the likes of her again. And on her own, I would say she is the prowess of Susie Bates as a thinker, plus the capability of Sophie Devine. And the fact that she's fearless, on top of it, she's a left-hander, makes her all the more fun to watch. But she would really need that support from the top and the middle order, because oftentimes it is she who single-handedly pulls along the side, जो थोड़ा मुश्किल भी हो जाता है, थोड़ा कहीं ना कहीं अनफेयर भी है। एक ही इंसान करता रहेगा तो फिर बाकी 10 क्या कर रहे हैं टीम में? श्रीलंका always fun to watch. I mean, hailing from the beating heart of the subcontinent, um, very good players who spin, a very balanced medium pace and spin attack. And let's see if they can throw in some surprises in this World Cup edition.
And what about Pakistan? They have the likes of Nida Dar, uh, their new captain, Sana Mir, I think. No, not Sana Mir. There's a new all-rounder who's the captain. I'm forgetting the name. Then there's Alia Riaz and the likes. The fast bowler Baig, Diana Baig. Do you see them going the distance?
They should, they have all the makings to be a great modern day unit in this wonderful sport of ours. Diana Baig is an exemplary seamer. The kind of movement that she can generate through the air, the lateral movement of the surface, everything can fall into place. It's just about bowling in the right areas, cliches be damned. And, Nida Dar is known as Lady Lala. Her idol is
Shahid
Shahid Afridi,
Afridi.
the evergreen, the ageless man who might be 16 years old for all we know. And I just hope that she can draw inspiration from her idol and she can throw in some punches. I think they are. It's a team, by the way, to which the great Nain Abidi once belonged, who after her wedding moved to the United States of America. Still fit, still has that fire, passion to support her country, and why not? One of the finest cricketers ever, who, by the way, have come from Karachi. And I'm sure that Nain Abidi would be watching this World Cup contest with keen eyes. And once this episode comes up, I'm going to be sending it to her. And I know that if she was here, for instance, if she would have joined us, she would have definitely said that the likes of Alia Riaz and their batters up the order, and of course Nida Dar, would provide the solid foundation to this team, which can actually go a long way. Alia Riaz reminds me of Tabu. She's the Tabu of women's cricket. Tall, thinking, intelligent, always up for a challenge. But yeah, let's see what happens. Pakistan, you just never know. It's always fun. But I think this is the post Javeria Khan edition of the Pakistan women's cricket team. A fantastic, fantastic contributor, a very loyally committed daughter of Pakistan cricket. She's not there anymore, and she'll be thoroughly missed. She's retired, of course, and I don't know what's going on in the minds of some of their most preeminent talents. One of which is Sana Mir, who you rightly mentioned at the beginning.
The name that was eluding me was Fatima Sana. She's the captain of the Pakistan women's cricket
The
team.
batter,
Mighty
the
fine
batter
all
with the
rounder.
specs, the batter with
No,
the
that's
specs.
that's Munida Khan.
Muniba Ali. That's
Muniba
Muniba
Ali.
Ali.
Ali, that's
Yeah,
right.
sorry,
The
I beg
keeper
your
batter.
pardon. Yeah.
She Fatima Sana is the new all-rounder, the new captain. They've just going off performance and their teams. Do you see women's cricket expanding like the men's T20 World Cup right now? We have 10 teams battling it out in the UAE versus I think you had about 20 teams competing for the ICC men's T20 World Cup. So when do you see the women's pool expanding and maybe a larger contribution from other countries to play the sport?
That's a question that the Honorable Mr. Jayasha should answer, and I'm sure he would be working on some plans as we speak, because it just makes no sense to not have, for example, a Chile, a Brazil, and Argentina, a Germany. By the way, the German women's cricket captain for the longest period of time has been an Indian lady, Anuradha Doda Balapur. I've had the pleasure of interacting with this very earnest and very, very capable and determined and very simple woman. So we need to have the likes of Germany, France, Brazil, Argentina, Chile, and so many other talented nations join this World Cup. We had the pleasure, you'd recollect last time around Diwali, of speaking with the majestic and the inimitable Roberta Avery. Um, I'm sure she was very emotional this year when Jimmy Anderson called time on his career. And I mean, you just look at the talent which exists in the women's game today outside the big names being Australia, England, India, and the usual narrative. You have somebody like, I mean, Isha Oza, the captain of the UAE women's national cricket team. I mean, what a prolific batswoman. The kind of talent that exists, I think we are just perhaps missing out big time by not taking cricket to a level where, in the women's game, that it so deserves to reach. But I do see a lot of good things happening in the game, Pranay. There are more bilateral series that happen nowadays than they did at that point in time. Um, I'm forgetting the name of this, unless I remember correctly, Andrea May Zapata, the former captain of the Austrian women's cricket team, one man army, a tank with the bat in hand. And there have been so many interesting bilateral contests between the German women's cricket team and the Austrian women's cricket team, for example. And we just need greater awareness in this part of the world. We need the venerable, the powerful, and the lovely ICC to perhaps do a bit more than they can, because they definitely can. If they won't, then who will? We as journalists can probably just only write an article, do a podcast, encourage the storekeepers of the spirit of the game to just up the canvas of the sport, because it really deserves to march into that direction. And it's not that we are calling a spade, we are calling the powerful and the wise the ICC, and they are that.
Dave, the reason I asked you this question was that yesterday I saw something very interesting. Scotland beat Pakistan in a warm-up fixture. So if the likes of Scotland can make it to the T20 World Cup, I was just wondering Where are the Brazils, the Germanys, the Chiles, the Argentinas of the world, the UAEs of the world? So that's the reason that I sort of had this question for you, because obviously as the men's game is expanding, so should the women's game.
No, you see the reach and the capability and the spark of talent that exists in the island women's national cricket team, for example. So you have, so जैसे हमारे यहाँ, so we love Heinrich Klaassen, and why shouldn't we? We love David Miller. So they have Orla Prendergast. आप उसकी बैटिंग देख लीजिए, आप उनकी फील्डिंग देख लीजिए, आप उनकी मीडियम पेस देख लीजिए. आई थिंक शी इज अ मीडियम पेसर, unless I'm mistaken. She leaves little to the imagination. Yeah, she's like, I'm not trying to compare her to a men's cricketer, but she's like a rattler of bowlers from the word go. Up the order, uh, Gabby Lewis, one of the finest right-handers to have ever embraced the game from Ireland, a country which is known for beautiful landscape, of course, the Irish beer. But hey, you have some amazing talents in the Ireland women's cricket team. And I just hope that we can see like an Ireland women's cricket team touring India and us going to Ireland, playing these teams more often than we do. Because, we have a lovely lot here as well, the likes of Smriti Mandana, Harmanpreet Kaur, and Jemima. They're fun people, besides being amazingly talented. They would love a challenge, and they would love to play against teams which they know if they play against them, they would be raising their game. So if we play Ireland, I'm not saying that we are helping Ireland. Who are we to help anybody? Everybody is an equal. But it would be fantastic to see Ireland compete with a mega team like India. And we deserve to win everywhere because we have that mega talent, but we also deserve to have that versatility being thrown into our schedules, because otherwise, more often than not, we play Australia, we play England, we play West Indies. Um, and it's about time that Pakistan women need to tour India and India need to go to Pakistan. I just hope that the governments at either sides of the border can really, I mean, cricket is not terrorism. Cricket is not a theater of war. Yes, there is this theater of indifference and animosity, and well, rightly so. वो भी बाज नहीं आते बिल्कुल भी, उनको भी कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. At the first given chance, they will, come and just do something which is full of vehemence. But well, इसमें गेम सफर हो रहा है ना प्रणय. If I can ask you a question, और उन क्रिकेटर्स की क्या गलती है अफगानिस्तान में जहां पे तालिबान आ गया, उनने सारी यूनिवर्सिटीज बंद कर दी, विमेंस क्रिकेट उन्होंने बैन कर दिया, ये कर दिया, वो कर दिया. तो there is this upheaval unnecessarily so. The fact that it's hideous and it's funny that a talented cricket team like Afghanistan have no resources left. That and and it is, by the way, India's large heartedness. Make no mistake that we have given Afghanistan the chance to host their opponents हमारी सरजमी पर. But ये सब अब ठीक है. If the world was a better place, then pigs would be flying in the air and Pink Floyd would be here with us live as they should be. But then that is what it is. Unfortunately, the game suffers here.
The politics and sport are always intertwined, and there's little that we can do to sort of separate
Right.
them. In fact, I think if my memory serves me right, we've written a couple of pieces also on how politics and sport are intertwined. Speaking about Irish cricket, I think for starters, England should possibly call them in and start playing a bilateral against Ireland. And slowly, as their cricket improves, then the likes of India, Australia, South Africa can play them. And speaking about David Miller, you just mentioned the man. He recently played his 500th T20 game. And I think he's seventh on the all-time list of someone reaching the half a thousand milestone. So that's pretty commendable. And till date, he still says that what if Surya Kumar Yadav wouldn't have taken the catch, things would have been different. But that's water under the bridge. So, do you see Australia lifting this World Cup for a seventh time, or do you see some other teams bringing a surprise?
Who knows? It's cricket, anything can happen. It's like Formula One. Sometimes the drivers who are not on pole position win the race. But I don't know, Pranay. But do I want Australia to win? My simple answer is may the best team win. May that be India for that matter, who've always been so close to lifting that title, but abhi tak ho nahi paya. And I would definitely want India to win their maiden T20 World Cup title, and never a better chance than this time around. Really, Jamima in good nick, Smriti Mandana. I mean, she's a destroyer of attacks. Harmanpreet Kaur being at the peak of her powers with so much experience under her belt. We have some amazing seamers. We have amazing spinners. We have everything going right for us. Let's see. But do I want the Australians to win? No. I think तुम लोगों ने बहुत जीत लिया है यार. You have 6 titles. औरों को भी chance दे दो. But cricket does not function like that. The template of cricket is defined by excellence, perseverance, and commitment, all of which Australia epitomize in a way that no other team can. No other team will. No, but they should now. It's about time, no? The White Ferns, Proteas women's, Windies women who already luckily won one title. Very happy for that under the leadership of Stephanie Taylor. Here in 2016 in India, at the same around the same time when Carlos Brathwaite etched his name, you know, in the annals of the sport forever. The Windies women had lifted the trophy. I still remember one of the most heartening pictures was the then captain Stephanie Taylor posing with the World Cup title. It was a very gleeful picture with the local kids in Calcutta, and she was around them, the West Indies who bring so much of joy. But कौन जीतेगा ये तो बहुत ही मुश्किल सवाल है. But in fact, we could just end this conversation on the top four predictions. So if I was to ask you the first four questions, and then you could ask me the same. So how many runs from the bat of Laura Woolward? Where do South Africa end up in this World Cup edition? Third, where will West Indies end up in this edition? And fourth, are you immediately going to turn every trouser and t-shirt in your house green instead of blue that you're wearing?
So, how many runs will Laura Woolward get for South Africa's sake? I hope she's the highest scorer. And I don't know, maybe 500 runs, if I may.
Possible.
They're playing 4 group matches, one semi-final and one final. So in 6 matches, 500 runs is pretty possible. And since I've said semi-final and final, that my team to win is South Africa. As for painting the clothes green, I think the rains are anyways
I'm not
breaking as well.
talking. I'm not talking about Cameron Green. Please, please, no.
By the way, he's injured, and I think he's going to be out of the India series also. I think he has a
Good for
step
us, man.
going back from
Good for
England.
us. I hope he recovers well in time. He's an excellent cricketer. Fantastic. It's fun to watch
The
him.
doctors are at play, and let's see how that goes. And as for
Yeah.
West Indies, I surely hope that they also the semi-finalists.
Yeah.
That would mean that England would be out of this group. So South Africa and the West Indies coming in from Group A or B, whichever group they are in, and maybe India and Australia. So I seriously want New Zealand also to come. I'm not too sure about Pakistan and Sri Lanka as a one-man army, so I hope they play as a unit. So in India,
Right.
Australia, West Indies, South Africa semi-final, with South Africa beating Australia this time to lift the World Cup.
Superb. Superb. How might that be?
Laura Woolward.
So
I won't ask you for Laura Woolward. Let me put as, say, Hayley Matthews. How many runs would she get? Or the Daughtrin lady that you were talking about, Leandra Daughtrin.
yeah, noted. So can I answer that as my top four predictions, including this
Yeah.
question of yours?
Yeah.
So Hayley Matthews, north of 250 runs, ideally. अब पता नहीं क्या हो, but north of 250 runs, so she will make. She will also contribute with her beautiful spin talent, which is very, very handy. She's also an excellent fielder of her own bowling. So I'm expecting the captain to rise to the occasion, and there is no reason she can't. She's fantastic. Also, a humble reminder to our viewers and listeners and watchers that she's somebody who suffers from diabetes. She still is a diabetic, but she's not taken. She's not allowed the illness to take the better of her, and she never will. Some of the most exemplary cricketers have actually thrived amid living with permanent adversity. One of which, also, by the way, unless it is very much forgotten, is a great Sophie Devine. And so that was the first prediction that she's going to make 250 runs and also contribute with wickets. Number two, my bold prediction is that there's going to be a massive upset in this in this T20 World Cup edition. And before my Aadhaar card gets cancelled and my house is rampaged, no, I'm not hinting that. I'm not saying that we will be defeated by our next door neighbors. No, but there's going to be a massive upset in this World Cup edition, the likes of which we might not have actually expected. Australia will not lift the title. That's my third big bold prediction. And fourth, after this podcast, I will have another cup of tea, which I'm actually avoiding, as you can see.
So, guys, this was Tyagi and Pranay Rangra with the 41st edition of the CaughtAtPoint podcast. We are hoping a new team lifts the World Cup this time, not Australia, but Australia look very formidable. Anything's possible. I would encourage all the viewers to tune into the T20 Women's World Cup like they have for the men's. And please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Till we bring you more content. This is us signing off. Cheers, guys.
Thank you, Pranay. It was wonderful as always. Bye.